The thing is, if the ideal property is there today, why not go for it? If it's affordable, you might not get that chance again. If it ticks a lot of your boxes, why wait?
I've seen a house I love, but it's been on Rightmove for 2 months. My mate says there must be something wrong with it. Is that true?
The way I would see it is if you're a buyer, 100% go and have a look at it to see if there is anything wrong with it, but there might be a little bit of bargaining power there. If it's been on for 8 weeks, it's probably too high, basically, is the answer there in the current market. Is Sittingbourne really still a good place to buy?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it be? I can rattle off 1,000 reasons why it'd be good.
I've had 3 agents value my house. One was really high, one was in the middle, and one was quite low. Why are they so different?
If you're getting 3 massive varied answers, I do think that none of them know the answer, because there is no answer.
So, welcome back to our pod, and today we have
Ben from Harrison's.
And I'm Chris from Harrison's Homes, of course. So today we are going to go through some Q&As. So we've had a quick look online, and from what we can see, this is what you want to know. So, Ben.
Well, I think the first question, the question that has come up arguably the most. I keep reading in the news that the housing market is crashing. Is it a terrible time to try and sell my house in Sittingbourne?
So yeah, this is a really good topic, and there's a number of things that I think we can cover today on this. So for me, looking at what November has done, so the first week of November, looking at the amount of applicants that have registered, we've registered more in this first week than we have any other week in the year. So for me, looking at that, I'm not going to say that the market is going to absolutely go off at this very moment in time. Obviously, we've got a budget looming. And again, that's another conversation, the budget. What shall I wait? What's your thoughts on that?
I just can't see this idea of a crash. Like, to me, that's just, sticking your finger in the air and just guessing. Like, it could crash, it could go up. Ultimately, even with crashes in recent history, they've been minuscule. And they've bounced back even faster.
Yep.
Again, any answer to somebody thinking about moving, if it suits you and now's a good time, you could sit here and wait, and you could find excuses for years and years and years why not to do it. If you need to do it, just do it.
I think also as well, at the time of the year, a lot of people think that the market's quiet. And for me, I always love this time of the year because the people that are actually looking are people that are actually serious. So actually people that actually want to move. So it's not a case of, oh, shall I go and have a look around the property? Shall I move? Shall we upscale? Shall we downsize? I'm not too sure. The people that are looking today are people that are serious about moving. And it's amazing the amount of first-time buyers that we're seeing registering at the moment.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's an interesting one. Like an unholy amount of buyers are just coming out the woodwork, and they're really just keen and motivated, which is nice because, like you said, a lot of people assume that around this time of year as things slow down. I normally find the results remain the same. It's just less people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, yeah, so what? So in other words, what you're saying, in another market, there might be more people competing?
Well, I mean, in my head, I think, who wants to view a property in a cold, wet night in December? Somebody that needs to move. So I think a lot of the people that are just curious or considering disappear around this time of year, which, like you said, leaves you with the serious people, which is only a benefit to any seller or any buyer.
But then the reverse to that is, if you think about those cosy nights in front of a log burner, if you have a log burner or anything along those lines, if you've got a room there that really sets off the time of the year, it could actually be a good selling point.
No, that doesn't make a really good point, actually. Because there is an element of charm to that, and certain, like you say, with a log burner on as well, I wouldn't mind,
Bottle of wine, 2, maybe.
5.
So yeah, as I said, I think from my aspect, I think the market isn't crashing at the moment. We're year on year, ultimately, the numbers are pretty much exactly the same. We haven't seen a massive increase. We haven't seen a decrease in pricing. So for me, I don't think it's going to crash. I don't think from the evidence that we're seeing in the market and the activity levels, like as I said, look at the deals that we've had from the weekend, like in the first week, like we're already ahead of target. So
all ends of the market too.
Yeah. So,
offers coming in at all ends of the market, which is brilliant.
So again, also quickly, I'm not here to overinflate what the market's doing. I'd rather talk fact. And then ultimately, if the market was rubbish, I would say. So for me, I don't think it's crashing. I don't think it's going to.
No, certainly not. Well, I've got another one for you.
Go for it.
My neighbour's house sold for a huge amount 2 years ago, but you're saying mine is worth less. Why?
This is again another interesting point, and I wanted to add to this because literally just as I turned up today, one of my friends told me that he's interested in buying a house, and the online tool has told him the property is probably worth £60,000 more than it actually is. So tying in both of those, it's really interesting. And there's an article, or there's something that I see on one of the advice communities about being on the market at the very beginning of this year. They had multiple viewings, multiple offers, sold it straight away, and then the property's just fallen through a couple of weeks ago, unfortunately. And they've gone back to market and there's no activity. So for me, it's all about the demand for that particular property. And again, it's exactly the same as a couple of years ago. Obviously, in 2023, we see a decline in the market. There's a lot of people that are buying pre that, and they were probably competing with a number of proceedable people and ended up spending probably 10% over. So you did see a bit of a decline in the market. It's the same with like several months ago. There's properties that were flying off the shelf, and then unfortunately now there's less demand. So it's really market conditions. Is it the market going down? I don't think it is. It's a bit contradictory in a way, isn't it? But I think for me, it's all dependent on who's in the market today and is there anything else on the market. Like the market at this very moment in time, there's more properties on the market now than there has been for a while. So you're going to be competing with a number of other properties, so you're less likely to get a top price.
Yeah, I think you're right. A lot of it is sort of the supply and demand of things. I don't know about you, but I'm finding a lot more of the sort of niche properties are getting a lot more interest as well, competing bids, stuff that doesn't pop up too much. It is just truly who's there at the time, and I like your point about people potentially paying a little bit more than they otherwise would in 2022. And I don't think that means, like you made a point about contradicting, I don't think it means that the market's physically gone down. I think it's certainly been quite a stable year if you compare it to maybe the big drop from 22 to 23. But it is, totally down to supply and demand. I could not agree more.
It's then also about market positioning, isn't it? Because ultimately, if you've got, we've discussed it previously, haven't we? If we've got a property that's on the market, or there's 10 properties at 350 all similar, and you go on at 350, you're probably going to be exactly the same, aren't you? Not getting any interest, not selling. Whereas if you price it more keenly, which is again is a strategy that we would 100% recommend, and the people that are listening to us at this very moment in time are the people there that are moving.
No, certainly. I could not agree more.
So should I just wait, or will houses in Sittingbourne be cheaper next year?
I've never understood the idea of waiting. Again, you know how I feel about just do it, like Nike says best. But, will houses in Sittingbourne be cheaper next year? Anyone that says they know is now guessing. We don't know.
Will they be more expensive next year?
If you look at trends, probably. But again, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know they could be exactly the same, go up, go down, money or the move. Which one's more important for you? It's case by case, isn't it?
It's, again, going back to a bit of advice I've given somebody recently about, should I wait? The thing is, if the ideal property is there today, why not go for it? If it's affordable, you might not get that chance again. If it ticks a lot of your boxes, why wait? Again, I know it's... I bought just before the last recession and I lost 30,000 off of that. But then when I sold it several years later, I made 180. So
it goes up and it goes down.
So it's what suits your lifestyle at the time. And for me, you could be gambling on it being £20,000 less next year. Great. But ultimately, it could be the reverse and you could be paying £20,000 more.
Exactly, and you've got to take that investor head off when you're buying for a personal residence. For you bought, from what you said in another podcast, you bought your place because it was the next step for you and your family. How often did you spend, I can't imagine you was thinking, the prices have gone down, oh great, yeah, it's going to hurt, but you're not moving, so it doesn't matter. I think the average time spent in a property UK-wide is like 7 years, is it?
Yeah,
so... At 7 years, you look back 7 years ago and the price of anything, it was only, 2018, 7 years ago now. Wow, reality. Everything was different. And it will be in 7 years' time. It can go up, it can go down within that time. But again, if it suits you and your lifestyle and you need it now, the ideal property's there, go for it because you won't regret it.
I do struggle at times, and I can understand why people would want to wait if they're going to save themselves £20,000. If you're putting on a mortgage, this is the other thing, isn't it? I suppose when you look at it, you think, I can pay 6 months' time, I'm going to pay 20 grand less, or I buy it today, I could lose 20 grand, but ultimately I've got the house I want to live in, and over 25 years, 30 years, that's going to be pittance anyway, isn't it?
No, exactly that. Should I fire another one your way?
Go on then.
I've seen a house I love, but it's been on Rightmove for 2 months. My mate says there must be something wrong with it. Is that true?
So I think we can look at this from a seller and a buyer perspective. But if we work on the buyer aspect, first of all, how many times do we have the question from buyers viewing or ringing up, how long has it been on the market, is one of the first, if not, it is the first question a lot of buyers ask us. So if you're saying it's been on the market a week and we've had X amount of offers, or it's been on the market for 2 months and it's not sold, it does unfortunately give that impression, like the question there, that there is something wrong with the property. I think for me, I can't guarantee there's nothing wrong with the property, first of all, caveat, but it all really depends. Again, has it been priced? Has an agent gone round there and listed it just to list it, or have they given the wrong advice on pricing because they need to hit their target? It could be a variety of different things. It could be a case of the sellers need X to be able to move, but that doesn't necessarily mean a buyer's going to go and pay the price because of that. The way I would see it is, if you're a buyer, 100% go and have a look at it to see if there is anything wrong with it, but there might be a little bit of bargaining power there. If it's been on for 8 weeks, it's too high, basically, is the answer there in the current market. So I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with the property. I think it's just a case of it could be marketed wrong. There could be a variety of other different things without being very unprofessional.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough.
So if we then spin that back then to a seller, if you wanted to answer that one, so if you've got a buyer there coming in and thinking, actually, it's been on the market now for 2 months, and is there something wrong with it? If that's the impression, what could you do if you were a seller?
Well, you're in a tricky situation there because, you know, all the bargaining power that the buyer's got, you can't really argue against it. And a lot of the sellers probably won't know why it's been on the market for that long. Some might think it's normal, depending on the information they've given from the agent that's looking after it. Ultimately, the good thing from the seller's perspective is that, you know, the buck does stop with them. So obviously, despite they might have a figure in their head that they want to take or feel like they need to take, it might not be achievable, like you said earlier, but ultimately it does end with them there. But I think from a seller perspective, if it's sat on there for 2 months, you are a little bit on the back foot. You know,
I should know this stat, but it's a very, very high percentage that as soon as it starts to go over 6 to 8 weeks and it goes in further, you are something like 80% less likely to sell. It's a ridiculous stat. I should know that. But
yeah, which is worrying. I suppose that's when the cold feet come in. But I like to think that if you're on the market for, you know, like you said on this example, 8 weeks, that you've had at least 8 in-depth conversations with they don't like this term, but the valuer that came round, the estate agent that you originally met when they came to your property. I like to think they'd be in contact with them weekly, so you'd have some idea what the plan is and where you're going. But yeah, I think if it's 8 weeks and buyers are now starting to use it as a bargaining tool, you need to look at potentially a change of approach. Otherwise, it could end up costing the seller tens of thousands.
Buying and affordability. So, with mortgage rates and the cost of living, how is anyone even affording to buy right now? Is it pointless for me to even look?
That's a good question. Pointless for you to look if you're asking the first part of the question. If you're asking, you know, is anyone affording it? Is it possible? If you're asking them questions, it means you haven't looked into it just yet. So you don't know the answer to that question. So let's answer the first part first. If you're a buyer, let's make sure, okay, is it impossible? Or am I just saying that because I'm hearing a lot about it? Yes, the cost of living is real. It's tough. But there is no bank in the world that goes, I want to make this impossible for anyone to get on the ladder, because it doesn't benefit them. It doesn't benefit anyone. So do speak to some mortgage advisors, brokers, whatever you want to call them, but speak to a couple. The reason I say speak to 2 is because not every mortgage advisor or broker, we're going to call them a mortgage advisor for the sake of the podcast, not everyone has access to the full market. So they might have just a panel of selected lenders that they go to that they work with. It's not exactly going to do the best service for you as a first-time buyer or even a home mover. Have a look at the mortgage rates, see what you can borrow. Let's answer the first question first. You know, is it possible? Let's do that first. Is it pointless looking? No. Keep an eye on the market, see what's going on, check out the trends. Just do that. Is it pointless you viewing houses without knowing what you can borrow? Absolutely. But speak to a few mortgage advisors, get the first part of the question answered, and then we'll carry on with the second after that. Well, what about one thrown back at you?
Go for it.
I see a lot of new build flats going up around the town centre. Is that going to make it harder for me to sell my 3-bed semi-detached?
Again, it's one of those tricky ones because, again, I don't think it's going to have a huge impact personally. The amount of properties that we've sold recently where, again, they're brand new properties, there's a mixture of apartments, there's a mixture of houses. they've never had an issue in selling. So I don't know, again, is it that bit of a stigma that people are thinking that because they're less maybe in money, or if it's a case of they're smaller? I don't know what it is, but ultimately, from my point of view, I don't think that's going to have too much of an impact whatsoever.
No,
I suppose it goes with the same with the rental, isn't it? Rental and sale. We get that question quite a bit, don't we? Oh, what's next door? Oh, it's been rented out. Oh, what do people like? And again, is it that sort of one of those things in our industry that people tend to think that there's going to be an issue, when ultimately, if you look at these new builds, there never is there?
No, and I think while you were talking there, my first thought was, well, obviously, if the flat is built in your back garden, then maybe it would make it more difficult. But then let's look at the London market. It's very common for a big block of flats to be in the centre, it's dotted by terrace houses around. You see it everywhere, and they're selling day in, day out. So I think you're right. I think maybe it is a stigma. I can't see any reason why it would be a detriment to you.
Is Sittingbourne really still a good place to buy?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it be? I can rattle off 1,000 reasons why it'd be good.
So anybody there that's thinking of moving to Sittingbourne, what would you say to them?
I'd ask them why, firstly. Not why you want to live in Sittingbourne, but, what's your motivation for it? Most people do come back to the commuter link to London, because obviously you've got direct line to St Pancras and Victoria. And a lot of the time as well, these people are looking for more affordable housing from the areas they work. So if you work in London, it's so tricky to buy over there, of course. So having the commuter links is a big why factor for buyers. Obviously, you've got a big up-and-coming town with recent developments in and around the Forum and town centre areas. Millions of pounds been invested there, and it's great family fun as well, which has been added, which I think's been missing. But also, we've got incredible schools here, and I don't think that gets shouted about enough. There is a lot of quality schools. You've got the obviously Highstead Grammar, Borden Grammar, so you've got the 2 grammar schools. Incredible selection of primary schools as well. Like, I would almost make the extra 15-minute journey for my son to go to a Sittingbourne primary school, Westlands Primary, Tunstall School, for example. And there's plenty of other good ones dotted around as well.
Yeah, you've got the Oaks, haven't you?
Exactly. It goes on, and it's this really high quality sort of little pocket in Kent for education. Obviously, we work out of Sittingbourne, and there's an array of jobs actually around as well. It's quite a self-sufficient place. And on top of that, you do have access to the big city and anywhere along the way. The whole of North Kent, the train covers, anywhere from sort of Faversham all the way through to Gravesend.
It's really interesting. You say obviously about Faversham. I was only down there earlier on today, and I think, as I said, there's a lot in Sittingbourne, and I think it is certainly up and coming. It is cheaper in comparison to some of the Medway towns, so there's a lot of feedback we get from a lot of London people that are moving down, with certainly the questions I ask. And it comes down to it's cheaper. But as I said, there's a lot more on your doorstep. As I said, there's areas of outstanding natural beauty as well that are on the outskirts of Sittingbourne. As I said, you've got Faversham there. Obviously, the town itself, there's so many different places you can go and eat. Again, it's the same with Sittingbourne, isn't it? There's still a few places. So for me, I've said it since I've been here in 2007, I think it is an up-and-coming place. There's a lot of people that I do see that have been here for a good period of time that have obviously seen, in their view, it decline, but I think that's probably, again, it's been built up. It's not what it was 50 years ago. So there's always going to be that change. There's always going to be that view. Obviously, when you're used to something and something changes, we don't like it. But I think from my point of view, I think it's great, personally. So I'd certainly suggest moving here if I was a buyer outside of the area.
Yeah, certainly. There's not too many. Well, there's no real drawbacks to it. It's a brilliant area. Should I fire one towards you again, Chris?
Yep.
What's the difference between a level 2 and a level 3 survey? The bank's one is free. Isn't that good enough?
Well, obviously the bank's one, they've obviously got to do that from an affordability side of things, haven't they? So for me, that's standard if you're getting a mortgage. So the level 2, obviously they're going to be looking into it a little bit more. It's one of those frustrating parts of survey. Now, obviously, they are there to highlight issues. So I can tell you pretty much what a survey is going to say, 9 times out of 10. There's going to be areas there that we're not quite qualified in. So if it's an older property and there's certain cracks, etc., you might need that extra level of survey, the next one up from that's going to actually look into the property, and it's going to be very in-depth. So you want to make sure that, it's in good order and there's no major issues. But for me, I'm not going to say they're a waste of money. They're there because I've got to be very careful here. But ultimately, they're going to be highlighting it. a level 1, and they're going to highlight it a 1, 2 or 3 rating. So a 1 is pretty much fine. A 2, there's a bit of wear and tear, ultimately, if we're simplifying it, and they're going to be things that are going to crop up in the next 10 to 15 years. And then you're going to get a 3, which is it's an urgent repair. Now, when I say it's an urgent repair, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is going to need repairing. Ultimately, they're going to see it and they're going to rate it there purely because then they're not qualified to then go and actually give an opinion on whether or not it needs doing or not. Like a gas, they're not gas safe, so they're always going to highlight a boiler as a 3 if it's new or if it's old, because ultimately that's not within their remit to say that it's in great working order. Same with the electrics, they will say that's a 3. You get a typical level for a 0.3 on a Victorian property where there's damp levels, so they might say that, oh, there's rising damp. The amount of times where they've come back and they said, oh, it's going to be a cost of anywhere between 4 and 8 grand. And then you get a timber and damp specialist go in and goes, oh, it's only 600 quid. So they are there to make a mountain of a molehill, in my view. This might not go down too well with surveyors, but they are there to do it, and that is their job. They're there to find fault. So for me, do you need it? I've given you a couple of examples there. If you're looking at those type of properties, then go straight to a timber and damp specialist, go straight to a builder, go to a gas safe, go to an electrician, or ask the agent, because you may well find that they've got a gas certificate that's just been approved that it's okay. You might have an electrician that's gone out and given a report. So you can always ask these questions and it would save you a lot of time. In regards to any cracks, yeah, you probably want to have a look at those. I'm not going to say that there's nothing wrong with them. So would I have one? I bought a 1930s property. Yes, there's a lot of things that have come up since we bought the property, but I wanted the property. I knew what I was buying. We knew we were going to change everything. Yeah. I might have a different view because I'm an estate agent, but...
No, that made sense. Well, that was your plans, wasn't it?
Does it answer... So, again, did that answer the question?
Yeah, to an extent. Obviously, he's asked as well what the main difference is. It's ultimately how strict it is, isn't it? And how much of a fine-tooth comb they go through. To my understanding, there's nothing too different. They still look at the same things. It's just maybe a little bit more in-depth.
Yeah.
All right. Well, no, that sounds good. And the bank's one, obviously, is just to make sure, ultimately, just to clear up, it's mortgageable, so that running water, the basics. It probably wouldn't pick up on stuff on the roof, etc. It might do if they can, visually see it. But to my understanding, the sort of mortgage survey is more about, is it mortgageable as opposed to does it have any issues? Yeah.
I think this could be a bit better back and forth, this one. So I've had 3 agents value my house. One was really high, one was in the middle, and one was quite low. Why are they so different?
Oh, good question. I've had this a few times, and I suppose it depends what it is, which is obviously a bit of a cop-out answer, but I would worry about the highest one potentially overvaluing. We've discussed this before, overvaluing, giving a slight inflated figure to sort of win you over, woo you, sign the dotted line, and then before you know it, 20 weeks later, you're still on the market and they've tried to reduce you 25,000 times. So worry about that. That is a danger. That's something you can fall into, and it's so easy when the cheapest agents saying they can get the most money. It's a no-brainer. But this is your largest tax-free asset we're talking about here, so please be careful. The one in the middle, again, one in the middle and the one at the bottom, I mean, if you're getting 3 massive varied answers, I do think, that none of them know the answer, because there is no answer. I'm going to say something now that might be a bit controversial, but no agent knows exactly to the penny what you're going to achieve for your home. And I think that's something that needs to become a bit more normal.
Yeah, so quickly touching base on that. So again, anybody thinking of selling their home and they're coming to us and we say, well, we don't actually know what it's going to achieve, that's going to sound like we don't know what we're talking about.
Unfortunately, that is true, yes. Not that we don't know what we're talking about, but it's going to sound like that.
It's, I suppose, at the end of the day, the skill and art in what we do is price to entice, and then it's the negotiation from there on in. At the end of the day, a house is only worth what somebody is willing to pay. So I think when you're looking at it, there could be, obviously didn't go on the low valuation, didn't we? So the low one could be inexperience. Could be a reason for it. They've gone out, they haven't really done a bit of research into what's selling. They might not know the local area, and this might be the figure that they're saying. I think you're spot on with the higher one. But ultimately, I think if an agent comes out and they can actually demonstrate that they've done their research, they understand the area, they know what's selling, they should be able to give you a good guide. They should know their market. They should know their buyers that are on the system. Because ultimately, it goes back to what we was talking about earlier on. If there's no buyers in the market for that type of property, you're never going to get that high figure, are you?
No, never. And sometimes that's going to be a detriment to you because you can achieve that high figure by asking a different figure. Mm-hmm. A lot of people would turn their nose up, and you'd honestly be shocked because it's something we monitor every week, you know, how many people click on it, and then we compare it to how many inquiries we've got. Some of the properties that now the market's demonstrating that it might be a bit top heavy on price are getting same level of clicks, but far less inquiries. Mm-hmm. Whereas if it was just on at the other price point, maybe the one in the middle, you would have got competing offers and then bridge the gap to the higher valuation figure that you were given. Whereas with the higher one, you could just end up with no one through your door because people just don't want it or don't want to pay it.
Do we want to go a little bit more on that? Could it be anything more? Is there anything else to that one?
I like what you said about making sure the agent can demonstrate why. And this is the important part for the seller because you've really got to put a line between what you want and what you think it's worth, because no matter what anybody says, when you own something, you do believe it's worth more. I suppose the emotion that comes into it, isn't it? Oh, I've been here X amount of years. I've gone and spent 50 grand on a new kitchen. I've gone and spent this. Mine's going to be worth a lot more. A lot of buyers don't really always necessarily care about that thing, do they? Honestly, no, they don't. And your 50 grand kitchen, it could be 50 grand's worth of kitchen that they don't want either, which is something that's harsh but real. You've just got to go with, ultimately, you need an agent that is honest with you, that's going to say, look, I don't know 100% what this is going to achieve. My advice based on the data is to position it at X. And with that, I will get you competing offers, and I will be able to come forward to you once these offers are at the highest point and demonstrate you what is the best price in this current market. And I think that is a massive gap in our industry, that so many people will overpromise and underdeliver, but I think there's a big gap for them agents that can be real, be honest, and then go away, do that work and present you multiple competing offers. These are your best offers. What do you think, Mr. Seller?
It's one of those frustrating things because I've been there time and time again where I've gone out and I've said a figure and I've never been thrown out, but it's to the point where somebody's looked at me and gone, well, you're way out on the sort of figure, gone on with another agent. What I always then find frustrating is they never then come back to you. That's probably my fault for not actually keeping in touch. But then next thing you know, you look at the land registry data and it's sold at exactly the same figure that I quoted, and they've been on the market then they've been on for several months not selling, and eventually come round to thinking that, oh, it is the right figure.
Yeah, and they never will come back, which is a shame. I had one recently as well where, funnily enough, I was also quite close to being kicked out. Much to my surprise, it went under offer about 6-7 weeks later. But within a week, it was back on the market, it had fallen through. So it's just like, and again, that's something else we could talk about, securing the sale. But yeah, it does happen. Sometimes I think you've just got to park the emotional side as a seller and sort of listen to the person that your gut is saying, this person knows what they're talking about.
So I think let's look at this actually. I was just thinking while we was talking. So if you're a seller and you looked at that higher figure, what questions could you actually be asking the agent? So giving you a couple, what is your average time to sell a property? That would be a great question to ask, because ultimately, if we look at a few stats here on what we are currently doing, if you're looking at time to sell, in Harrison's, we are 21% more likely to sell a property to the average agent locally. We get somebody moved 27 days faster, and we achieve 2.07% more for our sellers. The average agent is 29% more likely to have a fall through, And 71%, this is mad, this one, 71% more likely to reduce the price. So if we're going back to that question of, I'm not too sure which agent to sell, this agent's valued it a lot higher than everyone else. Sounds great because I'm going to have £20,000 more in my pocket according to this agent. But if you look at the sitting bull market, 71% of properties there. Have I read that right? Because that's absolutely blown my mind.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So 71% of properties then are being reduced. So if you look at that agent there that's valued your property £20,000 more than the other and £40,000 more than the other, you ask that question, I can guarantee you now they won't know it or they won't want to tell you. So there's one great question to ask. What is the percent of asking price are they achieving? So ultimately, and this is on the original price, not the reduced price. So what are they actually achieving? Again, they won't know it. And if they do, they probably won't want to tell you. And I know they won't because I know the figures. Ben, do you want to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah. Key word in what you said, it's definitely original marketing price, because any agent can show you statistics and say, we achieve 100% of the asking price after they've reduced it 50 grand.
3 times.
Yeah, exactly. So it's original. You've got to be very careful when you ask these questions to the estate agent. We actually do have a list of questions, sort of 12 killer questions as well. So get in touch if you want them for when you're interviewing agents. You want that's a scary stat. Do you know what the scariest thing about all of that for me is we tie it back to the original question of, should I go with the agent that valued it the highest? Well, 71% more likely to reduce the asking price. And then we know the pitfalls of that, because we know that you're only looking then after adjusting or reducing the property, you're only getting about 80% of what it was originally up for.
So when you look, I suppose when you're looking at it, is these for me are the sort of key questions, because again, it's the percent of asking price, the what they're negotiating, because ultimately anybody can sell a house, but what they're negotiating. So when you're looking at choosing an agent between the three there, rather than go on value, these are I would say killer questions that you need to be asking. Also as well, how long is it taking them to sell the property? That's another key one. I don't like the number and how long we're taking. As I said, on average, it's very moment in time. This year, we're taking 69 days on average to sell a property. Now, that's well beyond double what we want to be achieving. Okay, market conditions, etc. I can make all the excuses, but we're still 10 days quicker than the average agent. But the key thing for me is then the whole process. So then you're looking at how long is it taking from agreement of sale, then going through to completion. And I know if you look at our total days there, we're at 180 overall from start to finish, and the average agent there is at 207. And the national average I looked at just before we come out is 211. So at this very moment in time, these are the key questions, because anyone can come out and say, oh, I'm the best agent, oh, I'll go and get you this, I can go and get you that. Yet when you're looking at the data doesn't lie.
No, exactly that. You can't hide behind the data. It's interesting, obviously, you mentioned as well, because the from SSTC to completion, obviously 180 days total, 69 to find a buyer in turn, leaving 111 for the conveyancing process. How did that fare? I mean, obviously against the average in sitting bull and against the average UK wide, it's a lot quicker. Why do you think that is with ourselves?
I'll tell you what, so for me, it's the individual or whoever is dealing with the transaction. I think the key thing that we have is we've got Amber, she's phenomenal. So ultimately actually understanding the process. So I think there's before we go down the route of other industries outside of estate agents, the key thing for me is estate agents annoy solicitors. Purely because they've got no idea what they're talking about. They've had no understanding of actually what the process is and what they're supposed to do. All they have is a tick box exercise that is a case of, oh, have you done search, have you done this, tick, tick, tick. That's all they know. So I think there's a lot of inexperienced people in the industry right now that are dealing with, again, you alluded to it, our biggest asset. So I think that's one key thing. I think it's, that's number one. Number two, for me, it's who... Again, this is the other thing, it's like what conveyancer is dealing with it. Now, there are some phenomenal conveyancers out there. We always like to use local, but again, not everybody is working on the same level as some, diplomatically.
It's a nice way of putting it.
But then also as well, there are some, and I'll quite happily say it, there's some tin pot cheap solicitors that work on workload, so it's a numbers game rather than a quality game. And unfortunately, because they are so much cheaper, a lot of people are more inclined to go there. But if I could say to anybody at the very beginning, like, that you've got to be making sure that you don't scrimp and save over 200 quid is where I'm getting to. I was going to draw this one out, but this is the problem. And until you've been in that situation, especially as a first time buyer, you probably wouldn't have a clue. No disrespect. But for me, that 200 quid is massive. And if it could be the difference of, well, you look at that. So if you look at, there's 30 days there. I know that that's nearly double if you look at the national average. So when you're looking at that, 2 months of your life, and it's a stressful process, isn't it, as it is anyway. So can you imagine you're hoping to get in there for August and now we're November and we're still not moved? Can you imagine that scenario? Because that is happening with a lot of people.
Also, it ties back to how much more common it is for a fall through after X amount of days through a conveyancing process. The longer it goes on, the more likely someone's going to get cold feet, pull out and bring the whole party down with you.
But also really interesting, if you then go back another one, pricing your property too high and reducing it increases the risk even more of a fall through. So there's so many things here that can have a detrimental impact if you get it wrong. What else? It's a very outdated system.
It certainly is.
So there's 3 things.
So, in essence, buy once, cry once, and pick the right solicitor.
But the amount of times we've had these conversations, I should have listened to you.
Well, it's so true as well. It's like it equates to all aspects of life. I know, like, for example, it's my weekend. Charlotte's let me tinker on the car for a bit. I'm halfway through a job that would have cost me a mechanic 150 quid to do, and I'll be halfway through and I go, I'd pay someone 300 quid to do this right now. It's the same with the conveyancing, I like to think. Like, you'd be halfway through a process. If everything's running smoothly, you're probably sitting there thinking, oh, you know, are they working too hard? Or as soon as the ship's unsteady and things are difficult and you can't get hold of them, you would pay that extra just to speak to them. So... And I get it. If you've not been in that position, you don't know. But trust me, you don't want to be in that position.
I think it also goes back to experience and the value that you bring to the table, isn't it? And it's the same in every aspect. You get what you pay for.
It certainly is. A nice steak dinner will fill you up for longer than a Mackey's.
Honestly, why should I pay a fee when I can just stick my house on an online-only site for a few hundred quid?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, a bit difficult for me to say, but...
Yeah, I can imagine. I think this ties back into, for 300 quid, yeah, fine, you can put your property on the market. You've then, I'm trying to work out now how long Amber, just in the progression side, how many hours it costs her. Probably...
Cost me.
Valid. If you're progressing your own sale... Ultimately, it's going to be longer. It's going to be more stressful. It's going to be more hands-on. And again, back to my joke about working on the car, you're going to want to pay someone to take this workload away from you. Okay, that's one aspect of it. Okay, you might back yourself as a really good negotiator. I'll be honest with you. You're probably not going to get yourself the best price. I can't tell you how many times sellers have met...
Let's go back on that one, because again, I think we need to give a little bit more context there. Because again... The thing is as well, I think this is the differentiator, isn't it? I think if you're somebody watching this at this very moment in time, you're not knowing you've got somebody like Amber in the team, are you? So
No.
when you're looking at it, you're looking at, okay, I can save myself a few hundred quid, and you've got these online agencies. I won't mention who they are. It's pretty obvious, but they apparently have a dedicated team which you can never get hold of because you have to stay on hold for 25 minutes. So progressing the actual sale, for me, again, it's more of a call centre and you can never get through to them. So you're never going to be able to get the answers that you need to. You can be dealing direct with your buyer or your seller, which is the worst thing you could probably do in a whole transaction when emotions are very high. There's one aspect for me that people don't realise is they're saving money, but then again, there's so many more risks that could potentially happen on later on down the line that could risk a fall through.
Yeah.
So there's one aspect. But then when you're looking at it and you're going back to the time aspect, is do people then outsource their sales progression? Is it people then that are purely invested and actually understand the emotions of that person they're dealing with? Because obviously you'll go out, yes, I know we're obviously then passing it over to Amber, but you're in the office, whereas there are some companies there that are outsourced to a call center, again, another type company, but they don't actually know them. Yes, they speak to them, yes, they email them, but they don't actually personally know. They weren't in that living room at the time. So I think that's the other part, is actually understanding the real timeline and what they're all about.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, back to the money aspect of it as well. If you can't get hold of somebody, like, how do you know you're not missing opportunities for viewings? In turn, missing opportunities for good offers. If you can't get hold of anyone on the phone, like, there's an interesting statistic about how many Rightmove inquiries go missing. And that's countrywide, and not the business, but like physically the countrywide. And it's worrying, really, because if an online agent, you can't get hold of them on the phone just to talk to them, you're probably missing, in line with the UK average, which is around just over 50% the inquiries that are missing.
Well, if you go back to, we had this situation, didn't we, a little while ago, it was about a year ago, where there was, on social media, there was a person saying, do they know this agent, because they can't get hold of them? And that was a cheaper agent, and ultimately, apparently, they tried them 4 times, and that person was self-employed. Again, it was a cheaper self-employed option, but then, as I said, that's the implications of trying to go cheap. Are you going to get that level of service? And obviously, there's a potential opportunity miss. Fortunately, we knew them, and we actually put them in contact. But that's another key difference for me.
No, certainly. And then obviously maybe that's the other worry as well, because that agent's no longer operating in the town. If you go for a cheaper agent, what happens if their business model does fall apart while they're looking after your home? Are you just sort of left high and dry halfway through a transaction thinking, wow, I really am on my own now? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think also as well, it's like, again, I used to say this until we've sort of changed the model on what we're doing, but when somebody's, I suppose when you've got this, when you're a cog in the system and you're one of many people, do you really care, I suppose, is a question potentially there. So where I'm going with this is, you paid them all the money, they've done the job for you technically because they've been paid. Are they then moving on to the next one? Whereas obviously we've changed our fee scale recently where you can pay full up front, yet we've still gone and delivered £33,000 over the asking price for our seller, and they're absolutely delighted. So I sort of had that view before, is when you're paying all this money up front, are they then committed? Well, we've got proof in the pudding there is, but is it the same then for somebody there that's just one in 1,000 different I don't know.
I think it is massively different, especially obviously because the question's going back to an online only site. If you take somebody's money online, you have no idea who's got your money. You know the company banner has got your money. You don't know Jeff from accounts. You don't know anyone who works there. Whereas we'll equate it to our business. We're a high street presence. We rely heavily off of goodwill, off of recommendation, which goes completely out the window for if we was just to take the money and run. I am now right to assume, because I checked this morning, that every single client who'd ever paid us the full amount up front not only have got at least 10,000 over the asking price on each one, but each and every single one of them are sold currently.
Yeah.
So for us, I would rather you go down the pub, your yoga lessons, your dog walking classes, your beginners to runners stuff, and go, I took a risk on Harrison's. Ben told me that the cheapest fee was to pay up front. For some reason I did it, but he put 15 grand extra in my pocket even though he paid me up front. The power of that outweighs anything else. And with an online only site, it's so easy to take the money and run. I think it's 2 different kettles of fish. I mean, we're not hiding from anyone online behind a keyboard. We're there in the high street. We're stickered up and we can't hide.
To sell my house, do I need to declutter and paint that scuffed wall? Surely buyers can see potential.
Yeah, that's a good question. Surely buyers can see the potential. That's a tricky one. I'm finding more and more now, especially with the amount of competition, that it needs to be 100% complete. I used to be a bit more laxed on it, maybe in previous employments. However, since joining Harrison's and realising that ultimately the best price for each buyer and the seller is the goal and everyone's happy with the deal, you need to stand out. You can't be a chameleon. You can't be 90% complete and a few bits that need doing. Do it perfect in preparation. Make it all the last little 10%, skirting board that needs painting, all of that kind of thing. Get it done, because buyers typically can't see past it all the time, at least in my experience with the amount of competition. There are buyers that can, they're called investors, and if you want the best price for your home always, them two don't always go hand in hand. So if you want no wiggle room, no reason for negotiation, no reason you're going to take less, because painting that skirting board is going to cost you far less than somebody might negotiate down if there's problems and things they can pick holes in. Does that make sense? That's my view on that. What about you?
Yeah, I like to refer back to a couple of case studies. I've had one recently where, even again, it goes back to how the property is sort of presented. So I could see, and I've seen thousands and thousands of homes now, so I've got a good understanding of what you can fit in, etc. I did a viewing a little while ago where a lot of the feedback was upstairs was too small, and I knew it wasn't. It was just how it was presented. And ultimately, I just said, change this around, put a couple of curtains in here, do this, do that. And the first viewing after I did, the person went in and was like, oh, how great size, what a great size these rooms are. They're really homely. So even from that, is that just small little tweak had made the difference in how they view. Unfortunately, they didn't go and buy it, and they sort of changed their mind about moving. But for me, there's proof in the pudding there that it works. And I had one a little while, I'm going back a number of years now, where I actually advised just putting a bit of carpet in and just magnolia the wall. It was an old property, it needed work, but it was just a case of right first impressions. They went on with another agent because the other agent said I could sell it. They could sell it. Yeah, I can sell anything, to be honest. It's just ultimately, if you want to get the best price, which you would have told me, you should have done this. Anyhow, they went on with the other agent, didn't sell it, come back to me after they'd done the work, put it on the market with us. First weekend, we had a number of offers, sold it. I can't remember what we sold it for now. We did it at 200 and we sold it at 215.
There you go.
So for me, the difference there in just spending a little bit of money was the difference in it selling or not. Scuff marks, little things like this, don't get me wrong, if it's only a little thing there and it's been bothering you, I'd always suggest doing it, because again, you're just eliminating the just people highlighting things. When they see one thing, they're looking for another thing. So just, if you know it's there, just get it done, is my view.
Certainly. No, I couldn't agree more. And there's always that thing, isn't it, where buyers will always start picking holes in things once they're going to offer. You don't want to put yourself in that position. In my experience, there's usually two types of buyer behaviour when it comes to offers for a typical transaction. The first one is, wow, I'm in love. What do I need to do to get it? That's the side you want to be on. Or there's the needs this doing, needs this doing, needs this doing, that needs changing, I'll offer this. You don't want to be on that side.
Yeah.
Ultimately, because it's all opinion based, any buyer can find fault in anything. You can have a brand new driveway out of brick and they want it out of tarmac. It is what it is. But the less ammo you give somebody to pick holes in your home, like you say, once they find one thing, they're looking for the next, the better.
Cool. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. If you do have any other questions or anything that you would like us to answer on the next one, please click on the link below or send us a message in. We'd love to know what your issues are.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Cool.
Cool.